So I was saying to a couple of you up in the front here, I would like to be able to bottle this energy and anticipation in preparation for the college admission process that you will all be going through at the beginning of your senior year. And that's going to be the focus of this presentation. What should you be doing from today until the start of school? You don't want to be that student who shows up in the fall going, what? Was I supposed to be doing something? College? I haven't thought about that. What we suck to be you, if you are that person. You want to do the work now and over the summer to get ready for figuring out which schools you are going to be a competitive fit for, and which schools offer the kind of majors and programs and college environment that you're looking for. And if any of you had parents go to our presentation last week, that your family can afford. So we told them that their number one obligation was to figure out how to pay for this. That you guys were all perfectly capable of researching colleges, figuring out which ones you wanted to go to. That's your job. And we're going to give you all the tools necessary to be able to research schools and be ready in the fall. The process of talking to teachers about letters of recommendation, the process of talking to us about letters of recommendation, the process of advocating for yourself is something you're going to have to do 18 months from now when you're actually going off to college. So yes, your parents should have input and discussion with you about these schools. And frankly, 90% of the time when I get contacted by parents saying, okay, we've got these questions, it's because you, the student, haven't been taking care of your responsibility. They're asking good questions and you don't have the answers. So I will almost always, if a parent reaches out to me, say, I'm going to call your kid in and I'm going to give them the answer. And then I want them to come home and talk to you, mom and dad, about what are the things that will answer their questions about. Should I take the SAT or ACT one more time? Is this a good school for this program? Is this a good school for that program? All of these very legitimate questions that parents typically come up with are good questions for you to be addressing and doing the research to be able to respond to for yourselves. So a couple things I have up here in front of me. Most of this presentation, as several of you asked, is it wise for us to take notes. Everything that I'm saying is going to be up either on the PowerPoint presentation or it's going to be on Naviance or on the school website. So if you need to remind yourself where to find these things, fine, but there's going to be very little I'm going to say that isn't documented somewhere online. So what I'm showing you right now is this is a typical junior class Naviance welcome page. So if you log into your account in Naviance, you're going to see this is the actual video or the PowerPoint slideshow. This was the actual slideshow I'm going to be showing you, and you can access that directly from your Naviance homepage. I want to point out that there are dates, and we will continue to update these dates in terms of things that you need to be aware of right here on your homepage. So, first dates, the ones we're talking about right now, May 18th, 19th, and 20th. The next significant date that's popping up there is August 1st, which is when the common application opens up for the admission cycle next year. So for those of you who are applying to a school that uses the Common App, that's the earliest you can open up a Common Application account. Then when we come back from school in the fall, you'll see that there are 3 more dates. We're going to do this again in August. Some of it may be a bit of a reprise, reminding you of what we just talked about, but most specifically, we're going to talk really seriously about, okay, it's now your senior year. You should have done all the tasks we assigned to you. Now, here's how you officially ask for letters of recommendation. Here's how you officially order your transcripts. And here's how you officially submit your applications and test scores and dealing with all the real nuts and bolts of applying. There will be another college essay writing workshop. How many of you have been to Mrs. Schulteis's workshop so far. She's the state of the art, folks. She really is good at what she does. If you haven't had a chance to go to one of her workshops, there will be another one up here in September 19th that you could still sign up for to help you with the essays that you may have to be writing for many of your college apps. I see Mrs. Hawkins. Do you want to talk about the College Knowledge Night that will be happening October 7th?
College Knowledge Night is going to be on Wednesday, October 7th at Oak Park High School this year. We invite Agora and Calabasas students and family members to attend, but it will be held here this year. The workshops will cover 20 topics, including how to write a smashing good college essay, information about financial aid, information about the UCs and the Cal States and out-of-state colleges, as well as how to pick colleges. Just 20 topics for you to choose from. Each workshop will last 30 minutes and they will be repeated 3 times. But that will be October 7th, which is a Wednesday at Oak Park.
And when I switch over to the PowerPoint slideshow, there's a specific slide talking about the services that her College and Career Center offer, including how many college visits did you have this year?
Over 100, almost 125 admissions
This
counselors
is the
came.
best possible way for you to meet people from the colleges that you're interested in and actually talk to them. And many of them are the same people that are actually reading your application. So that's the smart thing to be doing, is to take advantage of all the communications that she's sending out. Now, related to communications, in my fake student account here, if you haven't ever noticed, there's a little link up in the upper right-hand corner of your home page in Naviance. It says Manage My Account. When you click on that, you can change your password, although the recommendation is just keep it set at the same login you use for Q. But most importantly, manage my profile. Email. Every one of you needs your own unique email, and it can't be a silly email. It needs to be something that's mature, and it should be the same email that you use to receive communications back and forth from the school, and it's going to be the same email you give to your colleges when you apply. Especially for those of you that are going to apply to schools that use the Common Application, you're eventually going to have to match that email to your Common Application account. And I have to tell you, email is the way the professional adult world communicates. You guys live on text and Twitter and Instagram and Facebook and every other type of social media. Fine. If that's how you want to communicate with each other, great. Colleges are not going to communicate with you that way. I'm not going to communicate with you that way. Lots of things come up throughout the cycle of the senior year where it's necessary for me to reach out and get some information from you or let you know about something or ask you a question. And I'm not going to call you out of class every single time. And half of you are all going to have free periods, and trying to track you down during the day is a pain. I'm going to send you emails. But if you're that kid who doesn't pay attention to email, all you do is look at text all day long, you're going to miss some really important stuff. And especially, here's my for real horror story, and I tell this every single year. I'm trying to scare you. Yes, I am trying to scare you. Every year, and this year's has not been an exception, I have students who apply to colleges, and then they just don't check email. Well, how do you suppose colleges confirm that they got your application? They email. And if you're not checking email, or if emails go into your junk file, guess who's going to have their offer of admission canceled because you didn't respond and set up the student portal like you were supposed to. So please, I'm making a big deal out of it. Get used to using email and make sure you've all logged into the Manage My Account and you have set up a current email that not only can I and Mrs. Hawkins reach out to you so she can tell you about the 100 plus colleges visits that are going to be coming to the campus, but it's also the way your colleges are going to apply, are going to communicate with you. All right. This is our senior college application meeting. And by the way, we are going to begin today referring to you as rising seniors. class of 2016. So your first official time to be called a senior. So this tab that you're looking at right here refers to the senior page on the website. And I'll be coming back to that later because literally everything I'm sharing with you now, plus what we'll be sharing with you again in the fall, is here in even more detail. When it comes to applying to four-year colleges, the way we do it here at Oak Park High School is we are going to assign you a series of tasks through Naviance. And it is up to you to complete those tasks between now and August 11th to be ready and prepared for the process to begin. Most of you by now should have already taken the SAT or the ACT at least once. It is still possible to come back in the fall and take them again. I'm happy to consult with you and answer questions if you want to know if I think that's a good idea or not. In a large part, my answer is going to be, let's check with Naviance. Let's see what the standard SAT or ACT scores are for the schools that you're interested in. Because maybe, yes, do a little more test prep over the summer and come back in the fall and take them again. But the key is, yes, it's up to you to take these tests and input the results into Naviance. I just mentioned the college rep visits in C6, the College and Career Center. Most students nowadays pick between 7 and 15 schools. There's no magic number, I'm just sharing with you that's the average that most students pick. Some go as high as 20, some pick 1. But that's kind of the general range that most seniors choose. Deadlines. It's your job to know the deadlines. Now Naviance can be very helpful with that because Naviance is pretty aware of all the colleges out there and what their various deadline options are. But when you eventually list a college in Naviance in the colleges I'm applying to section, and I'll show that to you towards the end of the presentation, you do need to put the deadlines because those deadlines not only drive your deadline to apply to those schools, they drive all of the rest of us who assist you, who write letters of recommendation, who send transcripts, because the deadlines you put into Naviance ultimately set priorities for all of us. And it is actually possible to list a college and not choose a deadline. Well, that drives everybody else crazy because we don't know, are you applying early, are you applying late, what's the deadline you're choosing. You will eventually meet with me if I'm your counselor, or Mrs. Stashevsky if she's your counselor, Ms. Heaney if she's your counselor, and we'll have a really quality meeting with you, but we won't agree to that meeting unless you've completed all the tasks that we are assigning to you. Can ask questions. I'm not saying I won't talk to you or respond to your emails if you haven't finished tasks. That's actually an expected part of the process. But to actually have your official hour-long sit-down, meet with Mr. McLelland, go over all of your college applications, yes, I will expect that you will have finished all the tasks we assigned. Teachers, likewise, they're going to expect the tasks to be completed. Ultimately, it's your job to submit the applications. And just to be clear, sometimes we talk about Naviance and the colleges as if they were all one. We use Naviance as our vehicle for submitting documentation for you. If I have to write a letter of recommendation for you, I upload it to Naviance, and from Naviance, I send it to your schools. If you have a transcript that needs to go to your schools, Mrs. Ramirez, our registrar, and I, we load it into Naviance, and from Naviance, we send it to your schools. You, though, are applying to your college's application system. If it's a CSU, you apply to the CSU Mentor. If it's UC, you apply to the UC Pathways. If it's a Common App school, you apply to Common App. And all the other variations of college applications out there. You may have multiple accounts with all the different colleges that you're applying to their school with. We, though, talk to all of them with Naviance. So that's why it's important that whatever you're doing out there in terms of applying to colleges is ultimately all documented and loaded into Naviance. And lastly, when it comes to test scores, although we're going to be asking you to post your test scores in Naviance, we don't send them. You ultimately own those scores. You ultimately request that they be sent to particular colleges. This is what, when you click on the About Me tab, what it looks like. And you've heard me say the word tasks now. When you click on the About Me tab, you will see tasks. And this is what all of you have right now when you click on tasks, a series of tasks which have deadlines. The vast majority of these tasks all have an 8/11/2015 deadline, because the expectation is that you will complete each of them before the start of school, so that when we have that meeting the third week in August, you guys are ready to rock and roll. You're ready to start scheduling meetings, requesting recommendations from teachers, and we're just fine tuning at that point. Again, as I said rather sarcastically, you don't want to be that clueless person knocking around going, was I supposed to do something I haven't figured out? You have already done the research and you're showing up in the fall with intelligent questions. Actually just wanting help with, is this the right school for me? What do you think about this one for me, Mr. McLelland? And then determining which teachers you should be asking recommendations of. Fine tuning, not just coming to it cold. One of the tasks is counselor questionnaires. When you know that you're going to ask Mr. McLelland or your counselor for a letter of recommendation, we would like some information about you. We know a few things, but this is where we want you to be very honest and personal with us about what you're proud of, what significant accomplishments. Are there any extenuating personal circumstances we should be aware of? Because colleges expect us, the counselor, to say, hey, there's something that happened to this particular student, or this explains why there was a dip in GPA, or why you're just such a wonderful human being and a great candidate for their school. So don't be shy and don't withhold information. It's confidential. I always ask when I have my meeting with you, is there anything you wrote in here you don't give me permission to quote? And if there is, I won't. But I do specifically quote right out of this questionnaire oftentimes some of the things that you say about yourselves, because that's usually pretty good stuff, what you've really thought about. One of the tasks is building a professional resume. Hopefully you all internalized back when we first introduced Naviance to you in the 9th grade that you should be building the resume over time. If you haven't, oh well, build it now. Because not only do I want to see all the extracurricular activities, and I don't care whether some of them went back into middle school, fine. If it's something of significance that you're proud of, put it on there. Every time you got a medal or recognition or did community service or had a job, anything that you think is noteworthy, put it on that resume. Not only is it helpful for you to kind of remind yourself of all the stuff you've done, but it definitely helps those of us who write recommendations, and teachers like to look at these as well. And for students who've done a really good job with their resumes, I will even attach this to my letters of recommendation. So take this seriously. This is a chance to really promote all the activities. There's one thing you'll find when you start to apply to colleges, they all, I shouldn't say they all, but a lot of them will have a place for you to add some comments about extracurricular activities, community service, but it's going to be very limited. And it's going to frustrate those of you who've done lots of stuff, because how do I tell them about all these years of volunteering and all these different things I've done? I can help you with that if you've done a good job on the resume, and I will attach it to my recommendation. I will make sure it makes it to the admission committee. So not only is it to help those of us who write recommendations, but it's also something we can actually send directly to the schools. I mentioned earlier, as you take tests, SAT, ACT, AP, and subject tests, there is a link for you to load those scores into Naviance. Now again, we don't send them anywhere, but it's helpful for us just to have a general idea, and especially when I sit down and have my meeting with you, we can talk. So, the schools you're applying to, do they super score? Maybe we do want all 3 of these scores and send all 3 of them to the schools, or not. But it's helpful information, and because I swear every school out there has got a different attitude and a different philosophy about how they use test scores. And I'm happy to share that with you, but I need all the scores here. Again, we do nothing with them other than they become part of the database that we use for Naviance. They've been using this program for years. It requires a lot of work to update it and keep it current. So we felt that, okay, we feel like we've got similar caliber students and we'd like to provide the same level of support and resources to Oak Park students that These, rich kids got a piece tab. So it's available to you for free. So if you feel like you have to still pay a private college counselor to interpret and figure out what schools to go to, fine, but you have access to the state-of-the-art resource in Naviance. College knowledge nights, college career counselors, there's a lot of good information out there that you can get for free. And frankly, I think you'll be better for it if you do the process yourself. But go ahead and ask for input and feedback, like especially when it comes to critiquing your essays and things like that. Obviously, you should be talking to your parents. Can we afford this? Okay, so is it wasting our time to even apply to a school that's going to cost $60,000 a year that we don't have? Yeah, probably. If you just want to feel good to get an offer of admission and then say thanks but no thanks. I mean, those are the kind of conversations you have with your parents to decide if it's worth it to apply to a school that your family can't afford. And you don't want to be paying student loans on for the next 40 years of your life. Other resources, we will have another one of these meetings, as I mentioned, in the fall. We'll have another parent meeting. Mrs. Hawkins hosts UC and CSU application workshops in the College and Career Center. We talked about college knowledge. We even have in January a financial aid workshop. All of those things are coming up in the fall to help you further. So, in the fall, we will see you then. And now I'm going to shift over and I'm going to go live to Naviance. This page is incredibly detailed. If you drill down on this page, not only do you see the dates, but every category we talked about in extreme detail, from sending your test scores, to early action, to the difference between the UCs and the Cal States, to applying to private and independent and highly selected schools, the common application, how to match your common application with Naviance, financial aid and scholarships, writing personal statements, letters of recommendation, ordering transcripts, how to use Naviance in terms of figuring out what type of transcripts to send. And then this stuff we'll be talking about extensively in the fall. As you saw on the PowerPoint slides, there are tasks. So this is live what the tasks look like. So when it says build a resume, you're going to click on it. It's going to explain the task. And in most of the tasks, right down at the bottom it says to complete this task, you need to build a resume. So you click on it, and it's going to take you to that page. And then you begin the process of category by category, building out the information. Once you save a version of your resume, it'll turn the task off and say you're done. That's how you clear that kind of a task. There are other tasks like ordering transcripts that you don't order transcripts through Naviance. You physically go to the student store to do that. So when I click on order transcripts, it explains the process. You need to get it cleared by me. Because one thing that we've learned the hard way over the years is that parents like to order transcripts. They like to feel like they're being involved. And they will order transcripts for the wrong schools. Case in point, UCs do not want transcripts at time of application. CSUs do not want transcripts at time of application. But that's just going to seem so wrong to your parents. And it may seem so wrong to you too, that you just can't resist filling out and paying money to the student store. Well, in large part, we want to meet with you and explain why this school doesn't need a transcript, or why it can be sent electronically versus why it needs to be sent by paper. But you'll notice there's no blue place to check off and say, I've done this. But it, in this case, does let you say, I've completed this task. And there are some tasks that will just say, add a comment like, I chose not to take the ACT, or I didn't take any AP tests, or I didn't take the PSAT. It's going to show the task is still outstanding, but all you need to do is just click add a comment, I didn't take this test, and it'll clear the task off your task list. The main thing that I like about using Naviance is we are requiring you to do your personality assessment, your career assessments, and most of you did the old version of the Do What You Are personality assessment back when you're a freshman. There's a new one now. It'll allow you to save the results from the old one and now do it again as rising seniors. I want you to see that information, and I want you to use that information to go and research careers and ultimately to learn about, if I want to pursue this career, what does that look like as far as a college major? Because when you go to use the Supermatch search engines under the colleges tab, or any of these search engines, you kind of need to know what you want to major in and what kind of colleges that you're going to be applying to. So let's do one quick search here just to play with this. So, plan to go to a four-year school. What's a major somebody here is interested in?
Forestry.
Forestry. How important this is to you? And then test scores. I'm just going to randomly pull some test scores over here and see where I stand with that and say what my GPA is. And you notice every time you add a filtering criteria, it's cycling, it's sorting. School type, we're going to go with traditional four-year schools. Let's limit it to public schools. Location. Just that quickly, it was sorting schools for you to now start to drill down, and you can put this, okay, I've heard of that school, let me put it on the colleges I'm thinking about list. And then you come back and start to research more closely those particular schools. Because you're all eventually going to move your schools off the colleges I'm thinking about list onto the colleges I'm applying to. Here are the little icons that will tell you what kind of application that they use. If there's a blue computer screen, it means that it's electronic. It means we can submit transcripts or letters of rec if they're required electronically. So we'll be submitting directly from Naviance to your Common App account. And if it's a school like Northwich with the little red postage stamp, it means you'll still be applying through CSU Mentor, but if they ask for a transcript, which they do, it's going to have to get stuck in an envelope. Now, I'm going to show you a former student of mine because I've alluded to how you request recommendations from teachers. Once you've loaded all your colleges and you've got all of your deadlines and you've talked to teachers, you need to submit a very personalized note to them from the colleges I'm applying to page. Thank you very much. So this is referencing a personal face-to-face conversation she already had with the teacher. Please submit your evaluations to the following schools, and then she even went the extra step of listing the deadlines. Communicate to the teachers, otherwise they have no clue. So this will be your obligation to make sure and do a really clean job of telling the teachers what schools. In some cases, the answer is, you know what, I don't really need one because I'm applying to just Cal States and UCs right now, but I think I'm going to apply for some scholarships later on. That may not even be until January or February. Would you be willing to do that? You put that in Naviance. Okay. You guys have been very polite. I realize I've thrown a lot of information at you. Any questions anyone wants to ask before I dismiss you? Okay. And so it begins.